The Valley of Wales looked peaceful from far away. Mist rolled down the green hills like soft blankets. Rivers glistened in the distance, and the wind carried the smell of wet soil and stone walls. But deep in that valley stood a farm that never felt like it belonged to the ordinary world. Park Carredge Farm. To the eye, it looked simple. Rows of blueberry bushes and a pond where ducks moved lazily. But anyone who stayed longer than a few minutes felt the truth. The air here was heavier. The silence was sharper. Something invisible pressed against the skin, like unseen eyes watching from the shadows. The blueberries were the first clue. They grew larger than normal, dark as midnight, and their skin glowed faintly when the moon rose. It wasn't the kind of glow you saw in fireflies or lanterns. It was softer, stranger, like a heartbeat pulsing in the dark. Villagers called them ghost berries, but no one dared to pick them after sunset. And the ducks, they were even stranger. Ordinary ducks quack, fight, and scatter without care. These ones moved differently. Their steps were in rhythm, their heads turned together, their eyes fixed on the blueberry fields as if they were guards on duty. When one duck let out a sharp quack, the rest froze instantly, waiting, listening. It was the kind of silent soldiers made before a command. People joked about it in daylight, but no one laughed at night. Not after the rumors. One shepherd swore he saw the ducks line up under the full moon, staring upward as though waiting for something in the sky. A traveler passing through said he heard a low humming from the blueberry patch, like a hidden machine beneath the soil. Others claimed the farm itself breathed, exhaling mist, inhaling silence. And in the center of it all was the farmer. An old man, bent from years of work, with hands like cracked stone and eyes too sharp for his wrinkled face. He lived alone and he spoke rarely. In the village, he sold duck eggs and crates of blueberries, always sweet and perfect, richer than any others in Wales. But when asked about the glow at night or the strange behavior of his ducks, he would only say one thing: the land protects itself. No one dared to ask further. Children whispered stories about him. Some said he was a wizard who fed on the berries' glow. Others claimed he was centuries old, kept alive by secrets buried under his fields. The boldest children whispered that he was not human at all. Most villagers stayed away, but sometimes strangers wandered too close. One stormy evening, a traveler knocked at the farmhouse door. Rain poured from the sky, lightning cracked over the hills, and thunder rolled like drums. The farmer opened the door slowly, studying the young man before letting him inside. The traveler noticed odd things immediately. Jars of soil glowing faintly blue, maps pinned to the walls, not of villages, but of stars and constellations. Old books filled with strange symbols. And in the corner, a locked chest that rattled faintly, as if something inside wanted to get out. The farmer said little, only offering bread and tea. But the traveler's curiosity burned too brightly. "Why do your ducks guard the fields?" he asked. "Why do your berries shine like stars?" The farmer's eyes flickered toward the window, where lightning lit up the fields. "Some truths," he said quietly, "are dangerous before their time." That night, the traveler could not sleep. He woke to a sound, deep and steady, like a machine humming under the earth. He went to the window, and his breath caught in his throat. The ducks were standing in perfect rows, silent and still, all facing the glowing blueberry bushes. The berries pulsed brighter, each beat matching the hum in the ground. And above them, the clouds shifted unnaturally, as though something massive moved behind them. The traveler pressed his face to the glass. He thought he saw shapes, dark, alien outlines, sliding through the storm clouds. For a moment, the sky itself seemed alive. Then one duck turned its head. Its eyes glowed faintly blue as they locked onto his window. The traveler stumbled back, heart hammering, a cold sweat covering his skin. He dove beneath his blanket like a child hiding from monsters. By morning, the farm was ordinary again. The ducks waddled lazily. The berries hung heavy and still. But the traveler left in silence, his face pale, his story trembling on his lips. He carried that story to the village, and it spread like wildfire. Some believed, some mocked, But none of them set foot on Park Carredge Farm at night ever again. Still, the farmer worked quietly. He fed his ducks. He tended his glowing fields. And he walked the land like a man who knew something others did not. Because Park Carredge was no ordinary farm. It was watching. It was waiting. And from somewhere beyond the sky, something else was watching too. The village around Park Carredge never stopped whispering about the old man. Children dared each other to walk near his fields after dark. Grown men avoided his path when he came to market. And yet, no one could deny that his blueberries were sweeter, his eggs richer, and his farm healthier than any other land in Wales. But what no villager truly knew was the secret the farmer carried. The old man woke before dawn every day. He stepped outside, the morning mist curling around his boots, and the ducks immediately gathered at his feet. They moved in perfect rhythm, as if waiting for his command. With a small wave of his hand, they spread across the field, patrolling the rows of blueberry bushes like silent guards. The farmer's eyes followed them, not with pride, but with heavy responsibility. He whispered under his breath words that no one else would understand, words in a language older than the hills. And as he spoke, the berries on the bushes seemed to glow faintly, answering his voice. Inside the farmhouse, hidden beneath the floorboards, was a chamber few would ever see. It was not a cellar nor a simple storage room. It was older, built from stone that did not belong to this valley. Strange tools hummed softly, powered by crystals that glowed the same blue as the berries. The chamber walls were lined with carvings of stars and symbols that matched no known human language. This was the true heart of the farm. Long ago, before the farmer's hair turned gray, he had been given a choice. His father had passed down the secret, and his father before him. The farm was not just land. It was a gate, a living shield planted by allies not of this earth. The blueberries were not ordinary plants, they were a power source, living energy disguised as fruit. And the ducks were not ordinary birds. They had been shaped long ago to serve as guardians. The farmer remembered the night his father first revealed it to him. He had been a boy then, scared and small, standing in the chamber as the blue crystals glowed around him. His father's voice was steady but serious. One day they will come. The sky will open, and others will return for what is ours. And when that day comes, this farm must not fall. You will protect it as I have, as those before us did. This is not just our home. It is Earth's shield. Now, as an old man, those words haunted him every day. Sometimes, when the sky grew too quiet, he felt the weight of unseen eyes. Sometimes, when the ducks froze suddenly in the middle of the field, he knew they had sensed something moving far above the clouds. And sometimes, late at night, the ground itself hummed, as though the buried machines deep under the soil were waking, waiting for the enemy to appear. Yet, to outsiders, he remained silent. He had learned long ago that humans feared what they did not understand. If the villagers discovered the truth, they would not see the farm as protection. They would see it as danger. They would try to destroy it, or worse, try to control it. And that could not be allowed. So, he played the part of a simple farmer. He sold his eggs. He offered berries at the market. He kept his words short and his face unreadable. Behind those eyes, however, lay the weight of generations. But the secret was growing harder to keep. The traveler who had stayed during the storm, his story had spread. People now spoke of glowing berries, of ducks that marched like soldiers, of strange lights in the sky. Most dismissed it as foolish talk, but the old man knew better. Attention was dangerous. Attention was the first step toward discovery. And then came the signs. One night, as he walked through the fields with only a lantern in his hand, the farmer noticed the berries glowing brighter than they ever had before. They pulsed, not in a gentle rhythm, but in sharp flashes, like signals. The ducks moved restlessly, wings twitching, eyes scanning the skies. The hum beneath the soil grew louder, vibrating through his boots. The old man's heart sank. He knew what it meant. The farm was no longer hidden. Something had found it. He returned to the farmhouse and unlocked the chest in the corner, the one even the traveler had not dared to touch. Inside lay a device, small and silver, covered in markings like those on the chamber walls. His father had called it the key. It was not meant to be used unless the farm itself was under attack. His hands trembled as he held it. For decades, he had prayed the day would never come. But deep down, he always knew it would. That night, as thunder rolled in the distance, the farmer sat alone by the fire, the key heavy in his palm. The ducks outside had gathered again, standing in rows, staring at the glowing fields. The blueberries flickered like stars, brighter and brighter, as if calling out into the dark sky. And high above, hidden by clouds, something answered. The farmer closed his eyes, whispering the same words his father once told him. "This land is our shield, and I must be its keeper." He did not sleep. He could not, for he knew the secret he had carried all his life was no longer safe. Soon, the world would discover that Park Carridge Farm was not just soil and crops. It was the front line of a war waiting to begin. The nights in the Welsh Valley had always been quiet. Stars sprinkled the black sky, and the wind carried the smell of wet earth. But one night, silence broke. A strange humming sound drifted across Park Carridge Farm. It was low at first, almost like the vibration of a faraway machine, but soon it spread across the fields, rattling the windows of the farmhouse. The ducks were the first to react. They stopped their slow waddling and froze in perfect rows, heads tilted toward the sky. Their eyes glowed faintly blue under the moonlight. The blueberries on the bushes began to shimmer too, pulsing in rhythm with the hum. The farmer stood on his porch, lantern in hand. His face was calm, but his heart was heavy. He had heard this sound before. In his childhood, when his father had woken him from sleep and whispered, "Do not look up, not tonight." Now the sound was back, stronger than ever. Far above, clouds shifted unnaturally. The moonlight dimmed, and the stars disappeared as if something massive blocked them out. The villagers in the distance saw it too. Strange shadows crawling across the sky, too large and too slow to be ordinary planes. In the village pub, people whispered nervously. "Storm clouds," one man said. "No," another replied. "Clouds don't hum." Children pressed their faces against windows, wide-eyed with fear and excitement. Some swore they saw lights flashing inside the clouds, red and blue, like eyes blinking from the heavens. Back at the farm, the humming grew louder. The ducks shifted, forming a circle around the blueberry fields, as if guarding them. Their wings stretched slightly, tips glowing faintly with blue sparks. The bushes themselves shook, the berries glowing brighter and brighter until the whole field looked like a patch of stars growing from the earth. The farmer whispered under his breath in the old language his father had taught him. The soil vibrated beneath his boots. He knew the hidden machines buried deep under the farm were stirring, sensing the danger above. Then came the lights. At first, only one. A thin streak, cutting across the clouds. Then another, and another. Soon the sky was filled with strange lights, moving in perfect patterns, circling above the valley. They were not stars, not meteors, and not planes. Their movement was too precise, too alive. A boy from the village, standing on a hilltop, shouted, "They're searching for something." His voice trembled as he pointed at the farm. The lights above seemed to focus, narrowing their path until all of them hovered directly over Park Carridge. The farmer clenched the silver key in his pocket. He could feel its warmth spreading through his palm, as if urging him to act. But he hesitated. The key was not meant for warnings, it was meant for war. The humming grew sharper, turning into a metallic drone. The air itself seemed to vibrate. The ducks let out a unified cry, not like ordinary quacks, but something deeper, sharper, almost like a command. The blueberries answered with a blinding flash of light that lit up the valley like lightning. For a moment, everything was still. Then, a shadow broke from the clouds. It was enormous, far larger than any ship built by human hands. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, changing shapes as it moved. No wings, no engines, only a silent, shifting mass of black and silver. The villagers who saw it screamed. Some fell to their knees, crossing themselves, believing it was the end of days. The farmer did not scream. His eyes narrowed as he whispered, "They've found us." The ship hovered silently, scanning the fields below. Thin beams of red light swept across the blueberries, moving carefully over every bush. The ducks stood still, their eyes glowing brighter, waiting. The farmer knew that if the invaders realized the truth, that the blueberries were not fruit but energy sources, they would descend. And when they descended, the valley would become a battlefield. Another flash lit the sky, this time from the ship itself. A long, piercing light cut across the clouds, stabbing the earth only inches from the blueberry fields. The soil burned where it touched, leaving a black scar. The ducks shrieked, wings flaring, their bodies glowing with blue fire. The villagers watching from afar gasped in horror. Some ran to gather their families. Others simply stared, frozen by fear. No one understood what they were seeing. But the farmer knew. The sky was no longer just a sky. It was the hunting ground of something alien. As the humming deepened, the silver key in his pocket grew hotter. The farmer's hand shook, but his voice stayed calm as he whispered to himself, "The shield must hold. The land must protect itself." Overhead, the massive ship shifted lower, its body stretching like liquid across the sky. And from within the clouds, more shadows stirred. Smaller shapes followed, the first of many. The signs were clear now. The invasion had begun. The ship above Park Carredge Farm hung like a silent predator. Its body shifted and rippled, black and silver, reflecting no moonlight. Villagers watched from the hills, their hearts pounding. No one had ever seen anything like it. It was not a plane, not a storm, not anything human. And then movement. From the belly of the ship, smaller crafts detached. They were sharp and insect-like, with glowing red eyes at their fronts. They flew in perfect formation, buzzing like a swarm of angry wasps. The humming sound grew louder, echoing through the valley. The farmer stood in the center of his fields, lantern extinguished, the silver key clenched tightly in his fist. The ducks surrounded him in a wide circle, glowing faintly blue. The blueberries pulsed brighter, each flash of light answering the red glow above. The first beam struck. A thin line of burning red light shot down from one of the smaller crafts, slicing across the soil. Grass turned to ash. Smoke rose in spirals. The villagers on the hills gasped and cried out, some falling to their knees in fear. But the ducks did not move. They stood firm, eyes locked on the skies. Then, as if on command, they opened their wings. Blue fire spread across their feathers, casting a glow across the field. Their quacks came not as noise, but as sharp cries of warning. The ship above shifted lower, its shadow stretching across the valley. Another beam fired, this one aimed directly at the blueberry bushes. But before it could strike, the bushes themselves erupted in light. A dome of blue energy shot upward, blocking the beam. The air cracked with the force, sending shockwaves across the valley. The villagers stumbled backward, shielding their eyes. For them, it was a miracle. For the farmer, it was the moment he had dreaded his entire life. "They're here for the harvest," he muttered. The smaller crafts dove toward the farm, buzzing like locusts. The ducks responded instantly. With blinding speed, they launched into the air, not clumsy, not slow, but like trained fighters. Their wings cut through the night, leaving trails of blue sparks. They slammed into the first wave of crafts, tearing into their black shells with impossible strength. Sparks and alien metal rained down into the soil. The villagers gasped. The ducks? They're fighting. But the battle was only beginning. The ground beneath the farm trembled as ancient machines woke. The hum from the soil turned into a roar. Hidden panels of stone split open, revealing towers of crystal buried deep under the earth. They rose like jagged teeth, glowing with the same light as the blueberries. The farm itself was alive, defending itself. The invaders did not stop. More crafts poured from the massive ship above. They fired beams of red light, burning the soil, tearing through fences, aiming for the crystal towers. The ducks fought fiercely, but they were outnumbered. For every craft they brought down, two more took its place. The farmer's heart pounded. He pulled the silver key from his pocket. The device glowed in his palm, its symbols shifting like liquid. He pressed it to the ground. The soil answered, vibrating with power. The towers flared brighter, sending arcs of lightning into the sky. The nearest craft exploded, shattering into fragments of burning metal. A cheer rose from the villagers, but it was short-lived. The massive ship above shifted again. This time it opened fully. From its underside, a giant maw of light spread wide, preparing to consume the entire farm. The farmer's face hardened. His voice was steady, though his heart was heavy. "This is the day my father warned me about." He raised the key high, and the earth itself seemed to respond. The towers of crystal pulsed in rhythm with the blueberries. The ducks dove and circled, weaving patterns of light in the sky. The farm was no longer a farm, it was a fortress. But the enemy was relentless. A deep metallic voice echoed from the ship, vibrating through the air. The villagers could not understand the words, but the farmer did. It was a demand, a warning, a promise of destruction if the farm did not yield its energy. The old man stood tall, shoulders straight. He did not answer in fear. Instead, he spoke in the same ancient tongue his father had taught him, his voice carrying across the valley. "This land is not yours. It will never be yours." The ship roared in response. The sky turned red as its full power charged. The villagers screamed. The ducks cried out, their wings burning brighter than fire. The blueberries flashed like 1,000 stars, defying the night. And in that moment, the invasion truly began. The valley was no longer just farmland. It was a battlefield. The valley was burning with light and sound. Red beams from alien crafts tore across the farmland, leaving scars of fire on the soil. The giant ship above glowed like a dark sun, humming with power. Villagers on the hills watched in horror, unable to understand how one quiet farm had become the center of a war. But in the middle of the chaos, the farmer stood unshaken. His ducks circled in the sky, glowing blue, crashing into alien machines with impossible speed. The blueberries pulsed with energy, spreading waves of light across the soil. And beneath the ground, the ancient towers of crystal roared like thunder, answering the farmer's call. This was the secret his family had guarded for generations. Now the time had come to use it. The farmer pressed the silver key against the ground once more. The soil cracked, splitting open, and a platform rose slowly from the earth. Upon it rested a console of stone and metal, carved with the same star symbols that filled his hidden chamber. The device was old, far older than his bloodline, but it pulsed with life as soon as his hands touched it. The humming changed. The crystals rose higher, glowing brighter, forming a dome of energy around the fields. The next alien beam struck the dome, but instead of breaking it, the energy bent, reflecting upward. The beam shot back into the sky, slamming into one of the smaller crafts. It exploded in a shower of sparks. The villagers gasped. For the first time, they saw hope. But the farmer knew defense alone was not enough. The ship above was too large, too powerful. If it succeeded in draining the blueberries, the energy would fuel their entire fleet. Earth itself would fall. He gripped the console, his fingers trembling. "It's time," he whispered. The ducks seemed to hear him. They let out a unified cry, their voices cutting through the roar of battle. Their wings blazed brighter, each bird leaving a trail of blue fire across the sky. They dove together, a storm of feather and flame, striking the swarm of alien crafts with impossible coordination. For every duck that fell, 3 enemy ships were torn apart. The blueberries responded too. Their glow intensified, beams of blue light rising from the bushes like pillars. The beams twisted together, forming chains of energy that lashed at the invaders, dragging them from the sky. The farm was alive, fighting alongside its keeper. Still, the battle raged. The mothership descended lower, its black surface rippling like liquid. A deep metallic voice echoed again, shaking the valley. "Yield. This land belongs to us." The farmer's voice was steady, but filled with defiance. "This land belongs to Earth." He slammed the silver key into the console. The ground shook violently. From the hills, villagers cried out as new structures burst from beneath the soil. Stone obelisks, carved with glowing lines, rising like guardians. They hummed together, their light spreading across the valley. One villager, braver than the rest, could not remain silent. He sprinted down from the hills, clutching only a pitchfork. Others followed, carrying lanterns, sticks, even farm tools. They did not understand the full truth of the farm, but they understood one thing. This was their land too, and they would not let it fall. The farmer looked at them as they gathered near the fields, eyes wide but heart strong. He had never asked for help, but in this moment he did not need to. Humanity had answered by itself. "Stay behind the towers," he ordered, his voice firm. "The farm will shield you. Do not fear the light." The villagers obeyed, forming a line behind the glowing obelisks. Some prayed under their breath. Others clenched their tools like weapons. They were farmers, shepherds, children, but they were also human. The ship above roared in fury. Dozens of smaller crafts dove, firing beams toward the villagers. But the obelisks answered. Blue lightning arced from their tips, striking the craft's midair. Explosions lit the night, raining fragments of alien metal into the fields. The farmer raised his voice, shouting words in the old tongue. The land itself seemed to listen. The blueberries flared brighter than ever. The crystals howled. The ducks screamed in unity. Together, farm and people fought back. For the first time, the aliens faltered. Their perfect formation broke. Their beams grew scattered. The mothership shifted uneasily, as though surprised. It had expected an easy harvest, a quiet conquest. Instead, it had found resistance, human resistance. The farmer's eyes burned with fire as he whispered to himself, "We may be small, but we are never weak." Above him, the ducks swarmed like blue meteors, tearing through the last of the enemy swarm. The obelisks hummed louder, pushing the dome of energy outward. The villagers watched in awe as alien fire bent and twisted away, powerless against the farm's defense. And high above, for the first time, the mothership hesitated. The invasion was not over. The battle was not won. But humanity had drawn its line. Park Carredge Farm was no longer just a secret. It was a fortress, a shield, a weapon. And tonight, it had spoken with the voice of humanity itself. "You cannot take this world from us." The valley shook like it had awakened from centuries of sleep. The air buzzed with fire and light. Above the farm, the mothership spread across the sky like a black storm, its surface rippling like liquid metal. Its swarm of smaller crafts circled below, each glowing with red fire. But the ground was alive too. Park Carredge Farm had revealed its true form. Towers of crystal hummed with power, obelisks glowed with blue light, and the blueberry fields pulsed like a living heart. The ducks soared above the fields, wings blazing blue, striking enemy ships like meteors. And in the center of it all, the farmer stood tall, hand pressed against the silver key, his voice calling in the old language. The battle had begun. The first wave of alien crafts swooped down, firing beams of red light at the crystal towers. The towers answered instantly. Blue lightning erupted from their tips, meeting the beams in midair. The clash sent sparks raining across the field, lighting the night like fireworks. The villagers watched from behind the obelisks. They were terrified, but they were also proud. For the first time, they saw the truth. The farm was not just soil and crops. It was a fortress, and they were part of its defense. One villager, clutching a lantern, whispered, "We cannot run now. This is our fight too." The farmer heard him but did not turn. His eyes stayed on the mothership. He knew this was only the beginning. The ducks screamed, diving into the enemy swarm. Their wings cut through alien metal, ripping open crafts with impossible strength. When they struck, blue fire spread across the machines, burning them from inside. Dozens of ships fell in seconds, crashing into the soil with deafening explosions. But the aliens were relentless. More crafts poured from the belly of the mothership, black shapes swarming like locusts. They fired in unison, red beams slicing through the night. One struck a crystal tower, shattering it into pieces. The ground shook violently, and the villagers cried out. The farmer's heart ached, but his voice did not falter. He raised the silver key high, and the remaining towers flared brighter. Energy coursed through the soil, repairing cracks, strengthening the shield. The blueberries pulsed harder, releasing waves of blue mist that drifted through the air like smoke. The mist wrapped around the villagers, calming their fear, filling them with strength. The mothership roared. A metallic voice echoed through the valley. You cannot resist. Yield the harvest. But humanity did not yield. The villagers lifted their tools, pitchforks, axes, even wooden sticks. They could not reach the ships, but they could protect the farm's heart. When small drone-like machines dropped from the sky, crawling across the soil toward the blueberry fields, the villagers charged. Their cries echoed against the hills as they smashed the machines, breaking their claws, burning them with lanterns. The farmer's eyes filled with pride. Simple people, ordinary people, yet they stood against the sky itself. The mothership shifted lower, its massive shadow swallowing the valley. Panels opened across its underside, revealing hundreds of glowing red lines. The air vibrated. The ship was charging its full power. The farmer gripped the console. He had one chance, one strike. If he failed, the farm would fall and Earth with it. He closed his eyes and spoke the words his father had taught him, words older than human memory. The silver key flared in his hand. The ground split open wider. A massive crystal, larger than a house, rose from the soil. The surface glowed so bright it turned night into day. The ducks gathered around it in the sky, forming a spiral of light. Their wings beat in unison, sending waves of energy into the crystal. The blueberries pulsed one final time, their glow draining into the ground, feeding the crystal's heart. The mothership responded, unleashing its weapon. A beam of red light, wider than the farmhouse itself, tore downward toward the valley. But the crystal was ready. It fired back. A beam of pure blue energy erupted upward, meeting the aliens' attack. The valley exploded with light. The clash blinded the villagers, shook the ground, and split the sky itself. Clouds shattered, lightning danced, and the roar could be heard miles away. For a moment, time froze. Then the red beam flickered, cracked, split apart, and vanished. The blue beam cut through the mothership's defenses, striking its core. The ship screamed, a sound not made by any machine, but by something alive. Its black surface rippled violently, holes burning through its armor. Smaller crafts fell like broken toys, crashing into the hills and rivers. The villagers gasped, shielding their faces from the heat. The mothership faltered, smoke pouring from its wounds. But it did not fall. Not yet. Its voice boomed once more, louder than thunder. This is not the end. And then, with a roar of fire, it began to retreat into the clouds. The valley fell into silence. The villagers looked at the farmer. The ducks circled slowly above, glowing faintly. The crystal dimmed, sinking back into the soil. The blueberries flickered weakly, their light fading after giving everything. The Battle of Park Carriage was not over. It was only the first strike. The farmer stared at the sky, his face hard as stone. He whispered to himself, "They will return, and when they do, Earth will be ready." The valley was quiet again, but it was not the same silence as before. Smoke drifted from the soil where alien beams had scorched the earth. Shattered pieces of black metal lay scattered across the fields, still glowing red-hot from the fight. The once peaceful farm was scarred, but it was still standing. Above, the sky had cleared. The mothership was gone, retreating into the endless dark. Its promise, "This is not the end," still echoed in the farmer's mind. The battle was won, but it was not finished. The villagers stepped cautiously from behind the glowing obelisks. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide. Some carried broken tools, others lanterns burned down to stubs. They had fought with everything they had, but they knew the truth. It was not their strength alone that had saved them. It was the farm. The ducks landed slowly, their wings no longer burning with blue fire. They waddled across the soil like ordinary birds again, quacking softly, as if the fight had never happened. The blueberries, drained of their glow, hung heavy and dark on the bushes, silent after giving their energy. The great crystal that had risen to challenge the mothership had sunk back into the earth, leaving only cracks in the soil. The villagers stared at the farmer. Some bowed their heads in respect, others whispered prayers. One young boy finally asked the question on all their minds. "What are you?" The old man looked at him, his face calm but tired. "I am just a farmer," he said quietly. "But this land is more than soil and seed. It is a shield. And tonight you saw why." The villagers exchanged uneasy glances. They had lived beside this man for years, never knowing the truth. Fear and respect mingled in their eyes. Some wanted answers, but none dared to press further. They had seen enough to understand one thing. This farm was not to be questioned. The farmer turned his gaze to the sky. The stars shone brightly now, but he knew the peace would not last. The aliens had found Park Carredge once. They would come again. Next time, they would not underestimate the farm. Next time, they would come in greater numbers with greater weapons. He clenched the silver key in his hand, feeling its warmth even as its light dimmed. It was a tool of defense, a gift left by allies long ago. But it was not endless. Already, the towers had sunk back into the soil, conserving their strength. The blueberries would need seasons to recover, to regrow their energy. And the ducks, his loyal guardians, were exhausted, resting quietly by the pond. The farmer closed his eyes. He remembered his father's voice, the words he had carried all his life. "This farm is not only ours. It belongs to Earth. When the time comes, you will protect it no matter the cost." Now the cost had begun. The villagers gathered near the farmhouse, their voices low. One man stepped forward, dirt covering his face, a broken pitchfork still in his hand. "We fought beside you," he said. "We saw what lives here. If they come again, what will we do?" The farmer studied their faces. Ordinary people, farmers, shepherds, mothers, children. Yet tonight they had not run. They had stood their ground. He felt a quiet pride, but also a heavy burden. "You have seen too much to forget," he said. "But you must keep this secret. Tell no one beyond this valley. If word spreads, others will come, not just them, but men who seek power. And that could destroy us faster than any invasion." The villagers nodded slowly. They understood. Secrets were heavy, but some secrets kept the world alive. The farmer's eyes lifted again to the stars. He could almost feel the mothership still watching from the dark, wounded but not defeated. He knew this was only the first warning. The war would not be fought in one night. It would stretch across years, across generations, just as his father had said. A cold wind moved across the fields, carrying the smell of ash and smoke. The ducks stirred uneasily, sensing the same truth their keeper did. The land was safe for now, but danger lingered above. The old man finally spoke, his voice steady, carrying across the valley. "They will return, and when they do, we will be ready. This farm is not just mine. It is humanity's shield, and it will not fall." The villagers stood in silence, listening to his words. Some felt fear, others hope. But all of them knew one thing. They had seen the truth of their world. The universe was larger and darker than they had ever imagined. But humanity was not weak. Humanity had guardians hidden in plain sight. The farmer turned and walked back toward his house. His steps were slow, heavy, but determined. Behind him, the ducks followed quietly, their eyes still glowing faintly in the night. The blueberries swayed in the breeze, dim but alive. And in the distance, far above the hills, a faint glimmer moved across the stars. Too straight, too steady to be natural. The mothership was gone, but not far. The Battle of Park Carredge was over. The war for Earth had only just begun.